I have never shot a gun. I know, as a beer-drinking, God-fearing, country-loving American, this is a grave dishonor. Perhaps even worse, I have never even played a Call of Duty game. Truly tragic. I can't count the number of times my friends have made some joke or reference, then have gone annoyed at me for being very confused. To hopefully rectify this lifelong mistake, I'm going to redeem myself by loading every gun that has ever existed, and then even some that don't, just to be safe. I'll be doing this monumental task in hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades, which is the best gun simulator VR has to offer. I started with the most basic firearm, the M1911. I know the basics of guns, so putting the mag in, pulling the slide back, and firing was pretty easy to do. Next was the M1911 again. So yeah, someone must love this gun because the first 7 weapons were slight variants of the M1911. Like, come on, the only difference between the first and second one is that one is coated in gold. The next actually different gun was the Jetfire 950, which was almost as large as my penis. It has the same mechanics of the 1911, so it wasn't hard to figure out. I was almost done with the first page of pistols before I saw something mildly different on the board chart, or however you say it, where the slide was pulled with a little knob on the side. The next page was a bit more quirky, with some guns that were loaded by shoving in bullets from the top, and a decal made of cardboard and loaded with, and I quote, 50 cal imaginary. And all the sound effects were made by someone making various gun noises with their mouth. Thanks. Besides a few standouts like the Glock with the switch, I'm serious, it had a light switch attached to it to turn it full auto, most pistols were kind of the same for a while. And for some reason, the last pistols were MP5s. I have no idea how or why these are classified with pistols, but they are. In total, it took 23 minutes to load all 102 pistols before I moved on to revolvers. There are considerably less of these to load, but they work fundamentally different from any gun I'd worked with beforehand. I had to pop open the cylinder and load an individual round into the gun before flicking it back and shooting. Sometimes there's an extra step or two where I had to open up a slot before loading it, or pulling back the hammer so it would actually shoot, but they are fairly easy to load. I will admit, it was much more entertaining to whip the revolvers around and see if I could hit targets like a cowboy than it should have been. The only gun in this section that truly confused me was the Dardic carbine, because like, how is this a revolver? You know what, gun nuts out there, feel free to just info dump on me in the comments on any of these weird classifications or designs, because I have no idea why this is considered the same as this. Eventually, some revolvers use speed loaders instead of individual rounds, which just made my job easier. Then there was the Mammoth. Now, if it isn't obvious, I'm no gun expert, but I'm pretty sure this is not a real firearm. And if it is, who made it for caliber 6.66? And why does it make fleshy sounds? Like, come on. Still a little upset after that, I continued like normal. I was making great time and figured I could easily be done within 2 hours. Next were more machine pistols, which was the smallest category so far, and the only ones worth mentioning are the Glomson and M1911A1 Long Flop, which were just as cursed as they sound. After those, breech loading pistols were up. They were like if shotguns and revolvers had a baby, and weren't that interesting besides the YOLO one. Now was my first challenge, the only lever action pistol in the game. I couldn't figure out how to actually work the lever part, and kept spinning it in my hand while trying to shove the bullet into every hole it had. After like 5 minutes, I had the bright idea to use both my hands. Even still, I didn't know how to put the round in. The slot I thought you put it in closed as soon as I let go with one hand to load it. Lost, I called the only people who I know could help me.
Hello, this is the National Rifle Association. How may I help you today?
Hi, so I have an issue I think you can help me with.
Of course, what can I do for you?
So, I have this lever action pistol, and I can't seem to load it.
Pardon?
Yeah, so I've been flinging it around for like 10 minutes, and the bullet just won't go in anywhere.
Sir, we don't provide...
And like, I've tried looking down the barrel to see if something's blocking it, but I don't see anything.
Please do not look down the barrel of any firearm, sir. That is extremely dangerous. Don't you know the rules of firearm safety?
Nah, I'm fine. So, like, do you know how to load it?
Sir, Fine. Let's see. Do you see some sort of button or switch at the end of the barrel?
Let me check. Yeah, there's a little button.
Okay, so carefully use it to twist the end of the barrel away so you can load the round there.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's a stupid design. Who made that? Well, thanks for your help. Bye.
Wait, sir!
After 12 minutes, I was finally able to shoot the darn thing. I mean, seriously, twist the end of the barrel? Who thought of that? Anyway, I was now on the bolt-action pistol, which started out strong with the bolt-action Glock 17. It looks more like a pencil sharpener than a Glock, but the bolt system was simple enough to figure out. The rest were a bit more traditional and had mags or clips to slot in. I was a bit behind pace, but still confident until I saw what was next. This is probably what some of y'all were hoping for, as it was time to load a flintlock pistol. I needed to make my forefathers proud by figuring out how in the world to work a flintlock from scratch. I knew the basic idea of loading a ball and then using black powder to ignite it, but would have to figure out the right placement and order myself. My first attempt, I shoved the ball down and dumped some powder on it before attempting to fire. That didn't work, so I added more powder to where the hammer was hitting. That didn't work, so I figured this attempt was a lost cause, so I spawned in a fresh gun. This time I added the powder before the ball, but it still wouldn't fire. I even tried putting a flint down the barrel, but it didn't work. After a third musket, I saw a little metal piece that I had to move into position, and finally, after completing all the steps, it finally fired. Next on the list was the Derringers. They were like the breech pistol, so not much to say. Now it was time for an actual shotguns, which was the first big firepower upgrade. The whole cycle of shotguns was flipping them open, loading some buckshot, and whipping them closed. Fun fact, flare guns are considered shotguns apparently. The only gun I struggled with was the M6 Survival, which had some sort of firing mechanic I didn't understand. If only there was someone who could help me.
Hello, this is the National Rifle Association. How may I help you today?
Hey, it's me again. I have another question.
I'm sorry, who is this again?
You know, the one with the lever action pistol.
Ah, yes. You. I hope that you were able to safely use your firearm, sir.
Oh yeah, but now I'm having trouble with the shotgun.
Sir, you do realize that our job is not to help you with loading firearms. Our job is to...
Yeah, whatever. So, I got this gun, the M6 Survival, and managed to load it just fine, but something is stopping it from firing.
What? Where are you getting these guns, sir?
Don't worry about that. Just, do you know how to fire the thing?
Okay, I'll go check, but please don't call us again about this sort of thing. Okay, so it appears that you need to move down the pin in the hammer once it's primed. As long as it's properly loaded and the safety is off, it should fire. Remember to please follow the rules of safety.
Awesome, thanks. Couldn't do without you. Bye.
Please, sir, don't call yet.
With that dilemma solved, the rest in the category were done pretty soon. The next section was more shotguns, but this time they were all tube fed, meaning I had to slide it in a slot before racking it to shoot. It's all fun and games till you have to load baby's first boomstick. That's when things get serious. I know this is getting repetitive, but there are still a few more shotguns to go through. The next two categories were magazine fed and lever action shotguns. I already had a love experience with both, so it only took me 10 minutes to get through all 26 of them. Finally, for a change of pace, I could move on to the submachine guns. For the most part, they function like oversized pistols or the magazine-fed shotguns, just with a little more spunk once I got it going. The MP5 had a grand reintroduction, and there are like 10 variants of it to shoot. I mean, come on, there isn't any difference between any of these. It took a few minutes to get through the rest of the submachine guns, but after 250 guns to get to this point, it was just a small drop in the bucket. Personal defense weapons were next, and I don't know about you, but if I broke into someone's house and they proceeded to pull on an MP7 with a grenade launcher, I would cut my losses and let them rob me. However, they were all straightforward, so I moved to the lever action rifles. Now, if you recall, I have some history with the lever action guns, so I went into this category with some fear in my heart. And wouldn't you know, the very first rifle had me stumped. It wasn't locking in place, and it didn't have a button either. If I sit down, you know something is getting bad. Eventually, after fiddling with it for a while, I realized you just slide the tip of the barrel to the side and I got it to fire. Surely I won't have any issues with the others now, right? Yeah, actually, they all had really obvious slides to put the rounds into, and so they weren't any trouble. But I got you thinking they were. I was almost done with the first page of all the categories and just had carbines, assault rifles, and battle rifles to get through. They were all some of the largest groups, but were also the most basic, so I'll just point out the more interesting ones. For the carbines, there's the Glarand. No, I didn't stutter, from the meme set. It was loaded with 9x19 and took me a while to pull the slide thing back to put bullets in it. There's also the PEN-15, which was the coolest looking gun in the game in my humble opinion. I don't know what about it tickles my brain, but this is the only gun I slowed down and actually admired. The assault rifles offered their own set of interesting firearms, such as the G11, where you cock it by twisting this little tab. I'm pretty sure a lot of guns in this section were also in previous ones, so I kept getting deja vu while reloading my 4th M16. Finally, the BRs. Yeah, so they weren't that interesting. Like I've said, I know what I'm doing at this point, so I got through all 29 of them without struggling for more than a few seconds. Okay, so if this is starting to feel boring, I agree. At this point, I'd been going for 2.5 hours, which was 30 minutes longer than I'd hoped, and I still had 10 more groups to go through. Luckily for the both of us, the last few weapons had a bit more punch to them, and what better way to demonstrate that than some anti-material rifles. Your eardrums will hate you after this one simple trick. Is it a safe or good idea to one-hand 50 cal rifles? Probably not, but that didn't stop me. These all worked as simple bolt action, except this Cirque du Soleil looking gun. The game claims the USPS ACL is a real firearm, but I don't know if I actually believe it or not because this is not normal gun behavior. It should not be this floppy. And it turned out that was a break action 50 cal rifle, which is just a string of words I would have never imagined saying. The next one more than made up for it though, as it was the classic hit the bolt with a hammer and pray. Nothing screams the 1900s more than this silly little thing. Okay, if I hit this, you have to subscribe. I hit like all of them at once, so you better. And look at the statistic. You should feel bad about yourselves. For shame. Next was the normal bolt actions, which, after what I just did, was incredibly unsatisfying. What was satisfying was the preceding round of breech-loading rifles. This would be a good skill check to see if the musket was just a fluke or not. It was actually almost a month between my first and second recording sessions, so it had almost been 30 IRL days since I had done something like this. This was a genuine next-gen musket rifle, and I don't even know where to put the ball. But utilizing all the skills I'd gathered through this journey, I figured out where to slide it in, shove it down with the rod, and fire, getting one gun closer to being finished. I was pumped, ready to take on whatever was next, which was another musket, which was anticlimactic but still fun to load. Machine gun time. This had fairly different loading mechanics, but broke into 2 or 3 categories once I figured it out. My favorite one was the Americanator. Never have these eyes seen such patriotic beauty before. After that, there's a bunch of guns I think they used in Nam, which was a treat. Now well past the 3-hour mark, I was determined to finish strong. The grenade launchers helped with that greatly because who doesn't like an automatic frag thrower? And then rocket launchers right after? Did Christmas and 4th of July have a baby? All the new launchers had different mechanics than anything beforehand and even between themselves. Like, how am I supposed to know how the mortar launcher works?
Hello, this is the National Rifle Association. How may I help you today?
Hi, I have a mortar launcher and was wondering... Hello?
Turns out I need to flick some switches and I finally got it to go off, although I have no idea where it went. Neat little fact about the M72A7, it has its instructions on the side, which I was actually able to use to fire it. My personal favorite is one where you control the missile with a little joystick after launching it. I was almost done with the section, and all I had to do was use the Stinger. This is probably the most complicated gun in the game. It needs a battery to power it and makes this really loud screeching noise when it has energy. I didn't understand how it worked at all and struggled with it for a long time. I even tried calling the NRA again, but they blocked my number, so I was on my own. I tried, I really did, but I was unable to figure this one out. So, for the first time, I had to look up how to do it. And honestly, even after that, it took me a while. Long story short, I had to switch maps to one with fighter jets, put the battery in, aim till it locked on, then fire. Now there's only a few silly guns before I was done. Some highlights are the grappling hook, which is self-explanatory, meat nailer, which is a railgun that took me forever to figure out, a cancer ray, which I accidentally shot at my head a few times, the laser pistol, again self-explanatory but really cool, the rail-tater, which shot legally distinct Pringles, and the sustenance AR3 because of how loud it was. The last category was Meat Fortress guns from a custom game mode, which was honestly an underwhelming way to end because they were just cartoon versions of guns I had already shot. But I guess it works as a good summary of everything I just did. I kept working through them until I got to the Vulture, the final firearm in the entire game. Well, I guess next time my friends make fun of me for not knowing anything about guns, they will be receiving a zip bomb containing 4 hours and 50 gigabytes of me shooting everyone, so take that. Man, this took twice as long as I was expecting, and I was physically exhausted after doing it, but it was worth it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.